Hello, everyone. This is Roopa Sunku from Touch a Life Foundation. I bring to you yet another episode of Mentor Loop. And today, I'd like to share with you the power of good communication in a workplace. Workplace communications is much more than conversations. It's about the exchange of information through multiple mediums. Employees share ideas and businesses communicate strategies and goals through communications. These could be both formal as well as informal. According to a workforce poll, approximately 60% of the companies do not have long-term strategies for their internal communications. Reviewing and updating business communication strategies will help define the direction, the culture, and the emphasis of idea creation and the drivers for any future of the business itself. What is workforce communication? Workforce communication is how employees exchange information and ideas. Communicating effectively is a very critical aspect of getting the job done. Whether it occurs in person, virtually, or part of an internal communication, there are efforts within an organization that establish these basic ideas. The pandemic was a very significant disruptor to every business and global communications. At one point in time, approximately half of the workforce was working from home. And although industries wanted to get back into in-person activities, the trend of more hybrid workforce became more and more prominent, staying home essentially. And at this point, it was even more important for us to focus on the communications in our everyday to-day businesses, as well as the virtual workplace communications. It wasn't about just tapping somebody's shoulder at a coffee room and sharing ideas, but it was a deliberate act of connecting with them through any of the channels or making a specific phone call to make sure that they are available for a casual chat. Or it would become a more formal communication where you set up some time and a meeting and an agenda to be able to discuss some things casually. It's very interesting. Michael Jordan, a basketball player, says talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships. What does this mean? This means that you have to communicate to bring the best out of the team within an organization. So what do we mean by effective workplace communication, right? Organizations share information and ideas differently. New communication tools like Slack, Zoom, Teams, Gel, Twists, streamline messaging across the organizations. And it also gives a face and a name association to all of the individual exchanges that we work with. But what makes the messages more effective is how you do it and what you are achieving from it. Effective communication is definitely a two-way street. You have to listen and speak and do that in a right balance. Establishing context as the sender and choosing the proper channel can be very, very critical. So effective communication should always have a context that forms the setting or the necessities of what you're going to share in terms of ideas, questions, thoughts, and perspectives. Settings are also very external in nature. What I mean by that is that if the communication is immediate and urgent, it could be done and received differently. Or if it's an opinion, that can be done and received differently. Or if it's establishing a culture within a corporation, that can be done differently. So ideally and essentially, the medium or the channel in which you're communicating verbally or electronically is very critical for you to choose. Technology has drastically improved the mediums that we have to communicate across the workforce. Communication channels currently enable us to constantly stay connected. That can be both exciting and intriguing at times as well, where you build a culture where people are wanting to be the first one to respond with the most accurate answer in play. But keeping in mind global boundaries, it may be time that somebody is sleeping, while the other time it may be somebody's waking hours and working hours. So all of those bits play a partial or an impartial role in terms of communication. But ideally, the basics of communication is a skill that is learned, exchanged, and managed differently to fit your environment and different people that you interact with, along with the channels that we talked about earlier, be it verbal or electronic. Also, you need to keep in mind that the verbal communications can be a little bit casual and it can be more directive. But whereas written communication often enough has to be thought through, and remember that it is a written communication that can be reread multiple times, and it is not a spur of the moment instinctive connection that you make with your content. So let's talk about one of the rules that Christopher Morley says. There is only one rule for being a good talker. You have to learn to listen. And that is the most important piece. So you can talk as much as you want, but if you're not listening and taking the cues, then that becomes an ineffective communication overall in any setting, in any form or media. I'd like to kind of spend a few minutes talking about some four, I think, powerful benefits with workplace communication. The first would be good communication mitigates conflict. You are all playing at the same level and you are all playing with the same setting, and you can clear the air in terms of any disconnects or conflicts or perspectives by communicating well. The communication is critical to making sure that we don't misunderstand or get the feeling of being misunderstood when you're interacting with people at work. Even when people feel like they're communicating well, if the person whom they're speaking to has a different communication pattern or has misunderstood the context, then that is definitely a conflict that is mitigated only if you recognize it, if you have seen it and perceived it, so that you can go ahead and take care of it. And making sure that small communication adjustments with the people that you're working with or the stakeholders or the partners, it's very critical to dispense anything that is misunderstood or needed to be cleared out and improved and emphasized furthermore. Not understanding how others communicate can definitely create conflict as well, right? It comes down to the different communication patterns or the different communication mechanics that the other person that you are listening to or talking to is also deploying along with your own style. So there has to be a balance, and the default should be speaking in patterns that can be considered common between the two parties, both the receiver and the deliverer. Sometimes emotions come in between all of it and create conflict as well. So if an employee feels disrespected or taken advantage of or disregarded, this can definitely lead to tension and conflict. So a better communicating team lays out some of the groundwork of expressions and understandings and the needs of the employees. And this definitely helps improve some employee engagement and performance. Explore and find out what is working well for your teams, both in person as well as virtual. Lead it and have some open forums where you're looking at what is going well and what can be improved on. So the second factor, after we've talked about mitigating conflict, would be communication increases employee engagement. So if you're communicating and just not talking, you are able to connect with the people within the team. One of the most powerful benefits of better communication is that engagement. Employees feel connected because they have the setting, they have the alignment, and they have the objectives and goals in mind that is being communicated to them as a team. And this makes workplace a lot more engaging. Communications can improve employee engagement in multiple ways. Some of the examples that I can share with you is it gives you a better understanding of your goals as an employee, allows you to motivate yourself, fulfilling some of these goals and mapping it to your own motivations. A better understanding of the goals will also allow you to utilize your skills on hand and make sure that you make that count. Or you are able to cultivate those talents or those skills that is required to align with the company goals. Improved connections between co-workers create synergy or a positive energy that can be very satisfying and engaging at work. Building better relationships with managers and leaders will also definitely improve that engagement. And all of this is about communicating and staying aligned with the people around you. The third aspect of good communication creates better client relationships. So, this is a big one. When you are in a client facing role and your client interactions are very defensive, that does not serve the purpose. And you want to align and not have any differences with a customer to make sure that they're satisfied and not disgruntled. When an employee thinks about what the customer could benefit from and how you present yourself with the proposition of better business and better interaction can definitely create stronger bonds and relationships. It also is important not only internally, but also with your clients to mitigate and resolve any of the conflicts, take escalations critically through to completion, understand the client need, help them be understood and feel understood, as well as understand the context at which they are coming to you for the various services or the needs that they may have. Also, go ahead and give them some of the new things that you're coming up with as you communicate not only the existing and the escalations, but also something new, something creative, something innovative. And those can also help you change the client's perspective of not being a stagnant relationship, but to communicate all the aspects of why that connection can be stronger and can be continued as well. The last and probably very key piece that we sometimes sideline is a good communication results in more productivity and a talented workforce as well. So employees who feel engaged are producing. And if you don't know what are the problems that need to be solved, you cannot stir the ideas from within your workforce. So, understanding the team's talents and skills and making that connection for them with all of the issues or the problems to be solved or the market share that needs to be changed will avail the employees' talent pool and also help them focus their skills to the right direction. Achieving more buy in will also create the right communication, and leaders become very influential and help with that whole process of having a motivated workforce. Innovation and creativity is always thought provoking and thought stirring. And people feel very safe and feel excited to express their ideas and express themselves and be part of the bigger ecosystem. And typically, the brainstorming and the problem solving initiatives typically bring more engagement and more satisfaction and productivity within your teams. And strategic team building is also crucial, trying to bring the right mix of people, the thinkers, the doers, and the problem solvers, all in one set of team members that will actually make this very powerful and make your workforce more productive overall. So, the acts of delegation, self development, team development, initiatives, and drivers within a business can drive that productivity and a talented workforce. And all of that can be pulled together only if you are communicating this consistently, repeatedly, and effectively to your workforce. I'd like to leave you with a quote from Peter Drucker, who says the most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said. And that is really well said by Peter Drucker, because you are getting the bits and pieces that are going well, but what is not being said has to be understood and interpreted so that you can create those ideas, bring out those problems, and solve those issues and create that synergy and workforce to be able to get a successful effort going. I hope you've been able to take away a few things from this talk today. And if you'd like to be engaged with Touch a Life Foundation, please feel free to come and register yourself with touchalife.org/career help. And hopefully we will see you soon, and come back to us with any other ideas that you may have or any initiatives that you'd like to be part of with Touch a Life. Thank you once again. Take care.